It's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, joined by the 5'1" of the world, Jill Simonello.
Hello.
Hello, Jill. So tonight we're going to have a little bit of abbreviated live stream, and sorry for those in the podcast. We'll have to listen to more episodes. By the way, two things. First of all, thank you, veterans. Veterans Day today. So thank you for your service.
I will say I am wearing my Stars and Stripes tights today. So, yes.
She's got camo on her hat, and she has Stars and Stripes. What was it, a leotard? What do you call that thing?
They're tights. They're like exercise tights. Okay. I wore red, white, and blue today.
There you go. So yeah, thank you for those veterans. I've told people this in a lot of times that my only regret in life really has been I didn't join the armed forces. I wish I would have done that. But anyways, the other thing I want to talk about is I got an email today from our podcast provider, and we've now uploaded 50 podcasts to the podcast provider.
Awesome.
50. It's crazy how that flies by. Like
it's almost a year's worth.
What was the Eric Tung's here. What was the Eric Tung's here, Dave's here, Baltray Nation. We got Raul, we got Tyler here as well. My question for you was, you did some live stream updates on the website. What number did you see in the thumbnail? What number does Phil have us at?
400, I think.
Is it 400?
401, I think, is what he has us at.
And that's the number of live
Phil math, which is not to be confused with Jill math.
No, but Phil actually went back and counted them up somehow, and we were at over 400 live streams.
So, I mean, that would include our original podcast or live streams or whatever that we used to do, right?
No, the 50 uploads are not including those.
But the 400, would that include those?
Were we doing those as podcast or live streams?
So we were probably doing those as podcasts.
Yeah, let me back up a little bit. So before I hired Jill, she would volunteer and come on and do live or podcast with me.
I was a guest host because that was semantics we had to use for the company that I used to work for. Would not have appreciated me saying that I was co-hosting a podcast. So I was a regular weekly guest co-host.
Right, and we had to do it during the day, during your lunch break, to make sure there was no that company was terrible.
It wasn't terrible. It just was a little bit difficult to work with.
Sure. All right, moving on. So I kind of set this up in the in our super secretive chat group that we have. Anyways, there's been a lot of news this week on autonews.com. I'm gonna pull up. Maybe I'll pull them up. Maybe I'll pull up some of the stories here.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I only got to one of the articles. I got sidetracked today.
Fired.
Okay. Yeah, whatever. You can try to get rid of me. It's not happening.
So I want to start with this, and there was. So autonews.com, if you haven't been there, it's a great news site for most journalists, and we just really appreciate their work. And they have a series of articles this week written on a mobility report talking about different opportunities that EVs are having. And one of the first stories, it was kind of a chain. This story went live today and said automaker suppliers are spending to break through, and it's in quotes here, a chemical plateau. And what this gets to, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom because it's this really good quote on the very last story, all the way down, maybe something like that. That was there, maybe not. Yeah. So I lost the quote. Anyways, what they're talking about is how they can get past this point where we're at currently, where they're stuck. The scientists are stuck on trying to get the batteries to be charging faster and lasting longer. Mm-hmm. And they're also talking about the lithium iron phosphate, which is they're getting away from a different, another chemical, and they're using that. Is it nickel? Maybe one of the other chemicals. Anyways, here it is. We've hit a chemical plateau in terms of the lithium battery cathode composition, said Conrad Lyson, whatever this guy's long title. Anyways. So what they're talking about, they literally can't make an EV battery currently charge faster and go longer distances based on the chemistry happening right now in battery production. And one of the interesting quotes here says, if you have a high school chemistry book, batteries might look like they have just one function, he said. The ion goes this way, electron goes that way, and there you have a battery. But it's much more complicated than that. So what we're seeing is, what they're reporting on is basically scientists are going, they literally don't have any ideas, and they're actually working on the biggest breakthrough they're having is when they're doing the batteries, as far as the how they package them. Oh, I was right there.
Well, because the next thing is the solid state batteries.
Yeah, there's conversation about solid state batteries. They're hoping that will be the breakthrough. BMW, Ford, Toyota, especially Honda, Nissan are all investing heavily in this, and they're trying to get the kilowatt per hour down on lithium ion. So lithium ion battery pack costs between $147 and $153 per kilowatt hour, cutting for 30 to 40% of the total EV's cost. And so, yeah, and it's kind of this throwaway quote. You might discover how to do that tomorrow. It might be 10 years from now, or it might never happen. Well, that makes me feel better. The timeline is unpredictable. People are trying. There's a lot of money being poured in, but it's very hard.
Yeah.
So they're basically saying, look, we don't know how to make these batteries last longer, and we don't know how to make them cheaper. And we're hoping that through packaging, we can make them cheaper and make them more efficient. And maybe we can do a solid state battery at some point.
Yeah, I mean, the tough thing about where we are right now is, I mean, it is 100% that. The breakthrough could come tomorrow. It could come 10 years from now, or we'll never figure it out. But when you think about it, you know, our cell phones, like as we know them, like I feel like the first iPhone was 2007.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, that's not that long ago in the grand scheme of things. But then you look at, like the first iPhone was like, but like this big. It was like really little. Yeah. And now we've got like a phablet looking thing here that's very large. And I feel like the technology is now like spiraling, and it's moving a lot faster because of, you know, the advancements that were made. But yeah, so I mean, it's a really, like, it takes that one piece of the puzzle to fit in to get it to, you know, then spiral. And yeah, could be tomorrow, maybe never.
Well, and they actually pointed out in the story, they're like, you know, this is the key to mass adoption. You have to have it charging faster. You're going to go long distances, and I agree with that. And so I just thought it was interesting that, you know, that we're at a point now where they're saying they cannot improve gas engines anymore. They basically have done that to the fullest that they can, and now they're saying we've maxed out our battery to the extent we can. Yeah. So I'm like, something's got to give here. And then the other thing that happened this week was a bunch of our colleagues, or a few colleagues, were actually flown to Sweden, which I found rather bizarre. Anyways, the Volvo did a EX90, which is a 3-row full battery electric vehicle. And the Volvo CEO, Jim Rowan, says that he believes that they'll have near-term future price of EV pricing and ICE engine price parity by 2025. That there will be no price difference between an EV and a gas engine by 2025 for them. And that.
Yeah. but if you read the article, this is the one that I actually read.
Yeah, it's a very interesting
article. It tells you that he's talking more like high-end luxury automakers, that the parity is gonna even out. Like when you're looking at an economy EV, Chevrolet Bolt, or, you know, any of the new Chevy EVs coming out, you know, any of the Ford EVs, when you're looking at something that is mainstream and lower cost, that is going to take a little bit longer for the parity to be achieved.
Yeah, I thought it was a really interesting thing because it was a very bold prediction. And the article, if you read through it, there's some conversation about whether or not people thought his ideas were dreams, or if he was right on because of the margin issue, because luxury vehicles have more more margin. But yeah, that was just a very interesting quote there, because we all know the EVs are currently on the non-luxury side are extremely expensive. They just really are. Which leads me to what I believe is the future, which I reported on many times, and I believe we're going to get to that point. This rocked my world a little bit when I read the story, but there was a hydrogen story on Automotive News. It says, long-awaited hydrogen's moment may be here. And if you read through the story, in a way, they kind of confirm what I've been saying, is that when you want a truck and you want to tow and haul and stuff, the battery EV setup on that truck just can't do it. But if they would go hydrogen, you'd emit water vapor. You would charge just as, or you basically fill up the hydrogen tank just as fast as you fill up a diesel tank. We could have consistent hydrogen pricing as we develop new ways to harness hydrogen and to store it. And you could have the same kind of performance, actually even better performance with a hydrogen fuel cell than you can a diesel as far as offline power, because you're gonna have all that electric torque going, and then you could have still meet the climate change and all the political leaders viewpoint on that EV stuff. And I've ridden in hydrogen fuel cell semi. I've ridden in hydrogen fuel cell bus. I've been in the Mirai, and it's slick. So
yeah. I've always thought that the end game should be hydrogen, and I because of. I mean, really, yeah, you do have to build out the infrastructure. That's still a thing. But it's much easier to build out the infrastructure, I think, than it is to build out the infrastructure for EVs, because it's a very similar infrastructure to a gas station. And you just have to like have the tank that has the fuel, and then you have the pump. And I did on my YouTube channel, I did a video review of the Mirai. And one of the things that I talked about in that video, we actually went to a fueling station and I showed what it was like to fuel up. And it's easy. It's, I mean, a little bit different than doing gasoline, because you actually kind of have to lock the nozzle into place because you can't let any of that escape. Hydrogen's lighter than air. But I feel like I was still at the Chicago Sun-Times, so this had to have been 2006, 2007 when I drove my first hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. And it was a Chevy, I want to say it was a Chevy Equinox fuel cell. And at the time, they had like the tanks like took up most of the cargo area because they just hadn't figured the stuff out yet. But I think that's an easier thing to figure out than the 500 range battery pack. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, let's bring up the Hindenburg and the explosions and we'll just be walking bombs. Well, what people don't realize about the Hindenburg is that was a flammable tarp wrapped around hydrogen, and one spark was going to set all of that off. It was like literally taking a piece of cloth and dousing it in gasoline and then saying, oh, let's just let's fill that with helium. Who does that? Well, they did that. And yeah, so of course, the Hindenburg blew up and went down. But they, hydrogen is lighter than air. So the chance of an explosion, like with hydrogen exploding or like leaking out of a tank, is like very small. And I remember at the time, and I'm sure they're still doing this, but General Motors was, sorry, I still had my heater on. General Motors was like taking these fuel tanks and dropping them out of airplanes and shooting with bullets to see like how sturdy they were. And they were not able to break these fuel tanks. So I don't know. I've like since that moment, like I've thought that hydrogen was the future, and I just could never understand why people didn't like focus their technology and focus their development on that. I think Toyota and Hyundai and maybe a little bit of Honda, like those were the three automakers that were really focusing on fuel cell and hydrogen technology.
Yeah, so let's dispel a few myths about. I'm seeing in the comments. Yeah, they fired tank. They've actually. I saw a video that Toyota did. They actually fired a tank round at a hydrogen fuel cell container, and did not explode. So honestly, I think a hydrogen fuel cell is a lot safer than I would say EVs are. Frankly, also the fueling time is getting cut down dramatically. It's gonna be the same time you get filling with diesel, because they were able to cool the hydrogen going in so it doesn't expand, and so they're able to fill that tank a little faster. It is very expensive currently. Hydrogen is very expensive. It's a very expensive fuel to buy, but since you can make it from solar, you can make it from cow poop.
I know, like I have to say, one of my favorite campaigns. You got to Google this once, not now, but Google it after, or maybe I could Google it and we could play it. Toyota did this really great campaign, and it was called Fueled by Bullshit. And I love it. And at the time, I was working for the company that shall not be named, and I wanted to say in the headline "Fueled by Bullshit," and they wouldn't let me put that in the headline. And I was like, but CNN did it, and they're like, I don't care, you can't do it. And I was like, but if CNN did it, and they're like, no.
Yeah. So I mean, different ways you create it. I mean, once it's the whole idea. Once we get the demand, the supply will figure stuff out. I mean, you can actually split it from natural gas too, which makes it all across the country's natural gas lines. I'm actually found I don't know if I found the video. Let me see. Oh yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Sorry for those in live stream don't care about this. You can feel free to sign off and all kind of stuff, but on the podcast. But I thought it was a really fascinating campaign. And let's see. I'm gonna play it here.
Is the most abundant element in the universe. It's in almost everything, from water to trees to grass. That's what makes hydrogen such an exciting fuel. But the critics have been vocal. Some have even gone so far as to call bullshit. And they're right, but not in the way they think. I'm an engineer, and these are cows. And all of this manure has hydrogen in it.
Come on, a cow pooping. Come on.
Let's go. So I'm on my way to meet Ron. He's a dairy farmer. He's got a beautiful little family-run dairy and lots of manure, and that's just what I'm looking for.
God, this pile of manure.
Ron, look at this.
Come on.
So what do you see when you see these piles? Manure. When I look at these piles, I see an enormous amount of energy. And I was hoping we could run a little experiment with your help, right? I'd like to see if we can take manure, strip the hydrogen out of it, and use that hydrogen to power a car. That sounds crazy, but let's do it.
And of course, they're using a Toyota Tundra.
Right.
Dump the manure in.
All right, Ron. Thank you so much.
So they're at dairy farm. Yeah, like you said, put that in the truck. Takes a load of manure.
We have our truckload of manure. We're on our way to the digester, which is basically a big poo lagoon that breaks down our manure and releases some lovely smelling raw biogas.
Oh, I'm sure that smells.
We're collecting some pure
Lovely
off the other end and taking it to a steam methane reformer. This is where the real magic happens. Using steam and heat, we can strip out the hydrogen, which should then be able to power our vehicle. Moment of truth.
I apologize for any pings that happen. Apparently, my running friends are talking about breakfast tomorrow. Very important stuff. So this could go on.
Well, it started. Well, I told you it could be done, and here we are. This is great. It's great, huh? Did you ever think we'd be sitting here driving a car on that Commodore? It seemed like a stretch. No combustion engine in this car. The hydrogen and the oxygen from the air come together in that fuel cell, and it makes DC electricity. That's incredible. It doesn't even smell.
It doesn't even smell.
You get the hydrogen. We just demonstrated one with this process. We're driving down the road, running on bullshit.
I mean, come on. How many times can they get bullshit in there? They need it. I loved everything about that campaign. And I mean, if you're on the podcast and you haven't seen it, definitely Google it. Cause even some of the graphics are hilarious because they're showing the cow's butt and they're saying bullshit. And then they have the eye with a little asterisk, and the asterisk is right over the butt's poop hole. I mean, it's funny. It's really funny.
Well, the thing that, that I was so impressed with, this is me, being a little practical. I know this is the deal, but I was thinking about this and I did a little research. John Deere actually created a hydrogen fuel cell side by side. They created it and it exists, and they didn't do much with it. But there's a lot of conversation about machinery in the field, and people are like, "Well, you can't do it. How can you do a battery electric combine? You can't. It's not going to work." But if you had a hydrogen fuel cell tanker like on your property, or a hydrogen fuel you could fill up on your property, imagine that. Imagine the idea of a farmer who's able to run all his equipment off of his cows. And so this complete circle loop of fuel that comes from the cows goes into getting crops, it goes into his tractor, goes back, this complete loop. Because a lot of farmers around my area have gas tanks suspended up on risers on their property, and they have a company come out, fill up the big gas tank, because they run all the tractors off that stuff. Much more convenient than having a bunch of 5-gallon gas cans all over the place. And so this is, I just found it fascinating that could be a possibility. And I have, like I said, I've been a big fan of hydrogen for a while. I think battery EVs in a car are fine, but the aerodynamic profile of a truck and the usage case needs of a truck, I think hydrogen makes a lot more sense. And well, during a week of testing the Lightning, and Jill gets a chance to drive Lightning in a couple weeks, I think it's pretty clear, and it was pretty clear to me that the Lightning does work asterisk. It does work asterisk, except for in this case, that case, this case, this. I mean, you can't go through the list. I mean, it was just like, well, it makes sense in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I've been a big proponent of it. I've actually been thinking about, like, if I could find a way to do it, I would totally do it in my vehicles, because I just think it makes so much sense. And then the fact that, like I said, eventually hydrogen costs will come down. It's astronomical right now. It's like $9-10 a gallon or someplace. I mean, it's what's the current hydrogen price? Let me see. Current hydrogen per gallon price. The current. Okay, come on, pull it up. Oh, it's
$16 a gallon.
$16 a gallon. Yeah, I mean, it's insane. It's just, I mean, honestly, the way gas prices are going in California, that may not be that bad of a deal. But
that would be true, because it's like $7.50 a gallon in California.
Right? It actually may still be a net savings. But yeah, I don't know. I've been a big fan of that. I was really, like I said, surprised this week to see the Auto News. Yeah, and I was shocked to see, my goodness, they're actually talking about this again. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to let's keep talking about it, but I don't know if that'll even keep happening. All right, moving on to the website. We have lots of stuff going on this week of the website. One of the best looking Ram trucks you've ever seen, the Traveler truck designed for Chris Stapleton. Jill, let's talk. Let's go around the horn here. I watched
around the horn. Got it.
I watched the sports show Around the Horn. I know your husband watches that too. We have the top left corner. We have shockingly high 40-50 Lightning charging cost. And that's what I talked about in an article. I wrote that about the different charging aspects of that.
The only thing I want to say, I think your headline is a little misleading, because the only thing that is shockingly high is if you use a public charger, which virtually nobody is going to do. So, I feel like that was a headline clickbait.
I was shocked. All right, fine. But I was shocked by the high price of public charging. You say that nobody's going to use it, but people keep thinking about the fact they're going to use public charging.
Because they are so used to having a gas station that they go to. The only time you're going to use public charging is if you are taking a road trip. And that may be like once or twice a year. For the most part, you're charging at home. You've now installed a level 2 charger at your house. Like, you have no need for a level, like a fast charge, unless you're driving to Denver for some reason. Yeah. And by the way, furthermore, I'm also going to contend. That was worth a shot of whiskey there.
I'm getting a little fuel for the fire.
I'm also going to contend that if somebody has an EV, they probably also have a gasoline vehicle in their garage that they are going to use for that road trip. So they're going to use their EV as a drive around town vehicle, and they're never, maybe once, but never using public charging.
Okay, so the second story in the bottom left is one of a kind Ram Traveler designed by Chris Stapleton. No, it's not. Todd,
it's totally clickbait.
It is not. You ran the story. You published it.
I did, but clickbait. I debated.
I was kind of being funny with it. It's like, shockingly. I mean, it's electricity, right? I mean, come on. It's a best.
Wait, oh, I already put my Halloween costume away. I have like a little toy drum. I could have done that.
Wow, even gets better and better with Jill. All
Yeah.
right. Anyways, the Palomino truck, 1979 Palomino truck, which I actually had to Google. I didn't know what that truck looked like because I was 2 when it came out. Jill was 16. So that
I was
truck,
like 24, whatever.
right. So that truck was interesting color scheme. So we have the brown, light brown. We have some plaid interior, same jacket material he has at his Country Music Hall of Fame exhibit that Chris Stapleton has. And the best part of this truck was on the front, they actually put a 3-dimensional chrome ram horns, the old school hood emblem. I just thought it was cool.
I definitely appreciate the old school. I'm a sucker for cool details, and I love hood ornaments.
Yeah. So, I mean, that thing, I don't know if you saw I'm sure you saw the fish or something, but that thing was definitely cool. And I told him, I said, I'm a big Chris Stapleton fan, big Ram fan. Like, do a combination.
What country? Meh.
Yeah, I'll be there. You'll be staying elsewhere. You'll be at home. So, yeah, I'm totally about doing that. What? All right. We have the in the middle of the front page, we have the Ford F-50 Lightning gets the Lego treatment, which I should pull this up because they have embedded this video on their Twitter. Is it? I'm sorry. Does Twitter still exist these days? I'm still confused what's going on with Twitter.
Well, only if you pay $8.
Oh, okay. So this is I'm gonna play this for those in the audience. Oh, shoot! It's got sound.
I can't hear it. So you can hear it, but we can't.
Okay, I'm gonna turn that way down. Holy cow, was that loud? Basically, they took a ton.
I feel like it was I say in the article, but it's like almost 4,000 Lego. Maybe 46,000, 46,000, 4,000.
Yeah.
I don't 36,000. It's a lot of Lego.
Yeah. So they hired a team, or they have a team of engineers or whatever. They basically built an F-50 Lightning out of Legos, and that was their job every day. Can you imagine?
I would like to know how long that took. Oh, it'll tell you in the video how many. So it weighs 3,700 pounds. But yeah, it said somewhere in there how many Lego they used, but that is just amazing. And the lights light up, and I think that's really cool. And the Ford Lego logo looks really cool. And Ford has 320,000. Sorry, I was really way off.
Just a touch off on that number.
Just a touch off.
1,600 hours. 1,600 hours.
It's been a long week.
320,000 Legos.
But they so my parents used to live in Florida, not far from Winter Haven, which is where this Legoland is, where it's on display, and we would go to Legoland. And I actually have a picture of myself next to a Ford Edge that was built in Lego, and like I was the size of the tire. I mean, it was a life-size Ford Edge. So I love that they do that, and they have like the full size, and the lights work, and I don't know, I think it's cool.
Yeah, she like messed it away. This is cool. I'm like, all right, run it. All right, and wrapping up, we have the Volvo XC90. We talked about this 5 things to know. What's a quick recap of the 5 things, Joe? Put you on the spot here. What do you think?
Put me on the spot. I don't remember what the 5 things are. 300 miles of range. 80. I want to say it's like an 80,000, below 80,000 price tag. 7-passenger vehicle. It will be equipped with LiDAR, which will eventually make it capable of completely driving itself without driver attention. So I don't think at launch that is going to be accessible, but the hardware is there so that when technology and laws change, then you can add that to the vehicle's repertoire. But it also, so it's going to be, I think orders are open now. You can customize it starting in the fall of 2023, and then it'll be available in early 2024. So this is still like a couple years off. Like this isn't like an imminent vehicle, but it basically looks like an XC90. So the regular gasoline powered 7-passenger 3-row vehicle. And, but it's got obviously a battery and it's all electric.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. One of the points it brought up with that story was that it'll take over if you happen to fall asleep or are
Yep.
ill at the wheel.
Yep, it'll pull over and call emergency for you.
Or drunk behind the wheel, and then it'll pull over and call emergency. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. There's a lot of conversations this week about the headlights being an issue, and I'm just digging the story now. We're gonna do more about this later on. Is that there's a story breaking out right now that Rivian customers are mad because the headlights are all LED and are not warm enough to melt snow or ice.
Well, so what I would like to say to that is get your little scraper out, Rivian owners, and like break that shit off before you get in your vehicle, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to clear your vehicle completely before you drive it, and if you aren't doing that, that's your fault.
Okay.
It's not the fault of the headlights.
And Jill drops the mic. And last thing was a story about 25 days of diesel fuel. I did a video on that one as well. Kind of called out some poor reporting on some journalists that did a bad job of reporting on that.
Journalists never do a bad job.
Right. Yeah.
No, I mean, everybody needs to be held accountable. Everybody needs to be held accountable.
Yeah. Here's the last thing. We're gonna sign off tonight. I got my recliner's calling me, and Jill's potatoes are gonna be done. But
and
this
my
is what
sister's in town, so
this is what people want to know. This is the last thing, Jill. You gotta read for the audience.
Okay. It says, when are you going to have a video of the rally and the experience you had? That would be so much fun to watch. Okay. So here's the thing. We partnered with Hyundai, and Hyundai has, like, they bought a media package. There is video. Like, they took my phone away. I could not have any, like, I couldn't do my own video. So, but there is video out there, and there were like a video crew checked in with us a couple of times during the rally. How's it going? What are you thinking? How's the Santa Cruz doing? And there's a lot of video of the vehicle like off-road. And I think there might even be video of me like digging the vehicle out of sand, because yeah, that happened. So I'm trying to get my hands on the video to give to Phil to turn into something. So hopefully soon. I know it exists. I know who has it. I've asked for it. They haven't given it to me yet.
Okay, there you go. So someday in the future, we'll have video of Jill doing a real rally with the Hyundai Santa Cruz.
Oh, and so he says, he adds, just having me talk about the rally would be interesting. We did a live stream on that. Where were you, Todd? Where were you?
And I twisted Jill's arm. She wrote an article about it as well on the website. Pickup Truck
I
Talk.
did. But where were you, Todd? There was a live stream on that. I'm just saying.
I'm saying the audience demands, Jill. You gotta give the audience what they want.
We live stream, and then hopefully the video coming soon.
There you go. See, it's not just me after you.
I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we got for you tonight. Like I said, we have a short live stream tonight. Let's see.
I was just looking to see if there were any comments or anything we needed to address. Is the LiDAR sensor safe for a car wash? That's a good question. I don't know. I would assume yeah, but it could be like this is a question from Elliot Manning. It could be something like hand wash and not like going through the jaws tonsils. But I don't know. That's a good question. Is there anything else?
And I just did a count here on my handy dandy phone Google Calendar, and I don't know if you'll be back next week for live stream, Jill, but I'll do one without you or with you. I'll do the best I can. I carry the show because we're running out of live streams, because we got that. Then there's Thanksgiving break. Then December 2nd, December 9th, December 16th, and the Pickup Truck Talk is closed for the 2 weeks after Christmas. So we have 4 live streams left until the year is over.
How many shopping days are until Christmas, Tim? Let's be a total killjoy. Let's
I think it's like 46.
Yeah, I have no idea. I by the way, I have bought 2 Christmas presents so far. I am very unprepared this year. Rebel was amazing, but it completely sucked my life away for like 6 months.
No worries. On this Friday, or was it next Monday, we decided we have a new gift list for you guys. Gear Guide gift list. Black Friday shopping. We put together for you guys, picked our favorite things. I tried to fend off. Jill had like 7 different varieties of like heated socks. It was just crazy. I was like, you have to narrow them down, Jill.
Heated socks.
You only get
heated
one.
Mittens. I have to tell you, those heated mittens were like quite literally my best Rebel purchase. They made me so happy. So happy.
On that
I make
note,
my fingers turn white like when it gets cold, and I just like so happy. I have them like stuffed in my winter boots when we have to shovel, which is probably coming soon.
wow. On that note, we're gonna go ahead and call it night. So yeah, so Jill will be at the LA Auto Show, by the way, to Elliot. She's gonna head out that way. Let's see. Live stream next week. We get a chance to it. Check the website, pickuptrucktalk.com. As always, thanks for watching. We will see you down the road.